curious, what is the daily life like in North Korea?
North Korea, even though it began with this ideology of let's all be equal, right? They claim themselves socialist paradise. However, it is the most unequal society that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I've been to a lot of countries, but that is the irony about this. They began saying like let's be equal, but the leader became a god, and the people who serve him became slaves and do not even know what human rights is.
Well, so everyone is equal. All the people are slaves and the gods are gods.
Right. I mean, in that way, they did a perfect job creating that dystopia. Like North Korea regime's standard of success is actually keeping 10% of the population. That's their standard of success. If 90% of them dying from starvation, they still think of it as a great success. And that's why they do not get bothered by 60% of people are malnourished and battling with starvation every day in the rest of the capital, outside of the capital. Therefore, the daily life really different between the people in the capital, between the people in the government of official positions, and also the most in the bottom class.
It sounds like Kim Jong Un is keeping all the Swiss cheese to himself.
Yeah, when he came onto the power in 2011 after Kim Jong Il passed away, he wasn't that big, but he just can't control how much he got, and he just consumes too much by himself.
It's probably stress eating, all the pressures of being supreme leader.
How is it stressful? The bar at 10% of the population, like that bar is so low.
I mean, you got to keep purging. You don't
want to kill your uncles and all
Shelly, if he were purging, he'd be a lot skinnier. Let me tell you that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yes, bulimia jokes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think North Korea is kind of like this black box, and so yeah, I can see why people would be kind of fascinated to like kind of see through the veil, and I think your channel kind of does that.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because, we focus so much on the military, but not on the actual well-being of people there, or lack of well-being, I guess you could say. So you're really bringing that to the forefront, and also in an entertaining way, which is great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what I've been trying my best to letting the people know how, average people living there. Because, I mean, when we learn the history, right, we learn about a lot of kings and queens. So I get that the natural tendency for the traditional media to cover the king, Kim Jong Un all the time, or how the top, government works. But the thing, I think generally we cannot really relate to king's life that much, right? We can relate more with the general population life, and I think that has been the least reported in Western media, at least, the North Koreans' lives in general.
Can you give us like an example, a short story from your life when you were in North Korea that kind of represents what life is like?
I wasn't born into North Korean standard poverty, the middle class, and I can give you what the middle class life looks like. Well, like middle class when you're born, it is the same. Your life is already determined for you, depending on your parents, grandparents' status in the party. So depending on what your great-great-parents did during the Korean War or before the Japanese colonization, they assign you to different status in the birth class. I know it's like socialist, but they do have classes. And North Korea separated people into 3 big categories, like the royal, middle, and the hostile. But between these 3 classes, they divide you into 50 different classes. And generally people know they are in the middle or bottom, but they don't know exactly which 50 different class they are in. This is a very high classified information. So usually you get to know it when you try to join the party or get a job or university. They let you know when you get married, you can get to know that. So when I was born, I knew kind of I was in the middle, and therefore I wouldn't dream of, going to a top university or becoming a prominent person. I just knew if I were lucky, I wouldn't get exiled to the countryside and be a farmer. But when I say farmer, right, in America, a lot of farmers are actually rich. But in North Korea, farmer means you are working at this collective farm, and the government takes 80% the harvest, and that 20% they give it to the officials to give it to the other people who worked for the farm whole year. But then this official, there's so much corruption, they do not give even this 20% and dividing to the other farmers. Usually they take that most of it, and the farmers do not get anything. So in the winter time, usually farmers die and they don't survive till the spring. So being a farmer means like really finer call for you in North Korea. I knew I wasn't gonna be a farmer. I thought if I did my best, I could be in the city and somehow being in the black market where my father was working in. I didn't go to school like everybody else. But even though in name it's a free education, but it's not free because nothing government do not provide anything. So school teachers have to survive, and only way they can survive is getting the bribes from the students. So if the students do not bribe the teachers and bring things to them, they would not let us to be sitting in the classroom and hit us and kick us back to the home to bring things to them. And I couldn't afford to go to school after 1 or 2 years. So I didn't really have much education. And most of North Korean kids do not get education because when you go to school, the things you learn is like, of course, all about hating enemies, not about Big Bang, not about Shakespeare. None of that. Is all about brainwashing us and making us, to be even dumber than we originally are. And at home, there are so many thieves. So parents can't afford to send their children to school. And we usually become like what they say, dogs, human dogs. We stay at home and, go to river because we don't have running water. So children have to go to get the water to home and like chop the woods or cleaning while parents go work in the black market to find food.
And this is for the middle class.
Yeah, that is middle class, but bottom class is unthinkable.